Hey guys, this is Lanelle Barber coming at you from within Merch Dojo. We are going to be focusing today's video on keywords. Now, I know that this is a big topic within the merch communities. Everybody wants to improve their listings, optimize their listings so that they can get the most sales as possible. So that is what we are going to dig into today. We'll do a little bit of a walkthrough. I will help you guys with some of my own personal tips and tricks to show you what I do for keyword research, where and how to use the keywords in your listing, bullets, title, etc. And with that being said, let's dig right in. Okay, so here we are on Amazon's main page here. We are going to be demonstrating why it's important to use relevant keywords and why our goal is to make our listings show up for as many relevant keywords as we can so that we have the best chance as possible of getting as many eyes on our shirts as we can. So let's start with an example here. Pretending that I am a customer who is going into Amazon and typing in some words to search for a shirt. Let's just go with something simple like cat shirt. Now, if I search for cat shirt, we can see that on this first page, the results are massive. Come over here and we see that the first page only shows us 36 results of over 80,000 total in the clothing, shoes, and jewelry section for cat shirt. Now, if we scroll down, we can see all of the shirts that are selling well, they're relevant. Amazon is showing them first because it's being sorted by suggested. Most customers will not do this, but you can sort by featured as well, and it will show you results that are selling even better than the suggested, but the suggested is usually where customers will stay. And of course, because customers are usually impatient, they want to find something quickly that they want, they are only going to mostly be staying on page 1, maybe 2 or 3 if they can't find what they want. But as we see here, there are 400 total results for cat shirt. And the problem is with a brand new merch shirt that goes live that doesn't have any sales, it doesn't have any reviews, it is going to get buried in the results when it first goes live. And there's no chance with such a generic word as cat shirt with so much competition of it being found. So we need to figure out what we are going to do with our keywords to help us narrow down those search results with some long-term keywords here. So cat shirt, that is something that may be the most searched for term, but if we think about other words that mean the same thing, let's try and put in kitty here. Now kitty, obviously not the same as cat and probably not as popular as cat, but as we see, there are people that search for kitty and the results drastically reduced here. So there's only 4,000 results now for kitty shirt. Now the reason why we want to be thinking about alternative words that mean the same thing and using adjectives, related words, synonyms, is because for that very reason, even if the most popular keyword term is being used when people search for a shirt, there are going to be still a number of people who will use different words. And then once your shirt is found, then on that first or second page, it has that much more chance of being sold. And the way that Amazon's algorithms work is once your shirt sells one time, then it raises in the rankings, and especially if it has a review, it has staying power, and then you have that much more chance of your shirts being sold in the future. It can rise up and up the ranks. So our goal here is to help ourselves get as many eyeballs on our shirts as possible, and we can do that with some keyword work. So that is one example, kitty versus cat. Now let's go even deeper into this. A lot of people who are searching for shirts are going to start being more specific. So if they search for kitty shirts and they see all sorts of results, but they're looking for something more specific, they might use an adjective. That is something that we don't want to neglect when we're using keywords. So let us decide to use cute. So instead of now cat shirt, we are using cute kitty shirt. Let's see if that narrows it down even more. And we see it does. 1 through 48 of over 1,000 results for cute kitty shirt. Now, the most important thing here that Amazon merch and Amazon in general is very, very adamant about that they want you to make sure you do is relevant. You need to make sure that whatever keywords that you're using are relevant. And this is because if you're trying to find a loophole, putting as many keywords as possible into your listing so that it will pop up for them in case it gets typed in, but it has nothing to do with your design, then people that are looking for a cute kitty shirt, but maybe your shirt is about a dog, they are not going to be happy because that's not what they're looking for. It's going to get passed by and you're actually going to hurt yourself because the algorithm will push you lower and lower in the search results once your shirt gets shown in front of eyeballs but it doesn't get clicked on or bought. So relevancy is key. Okay, so now we are going to examine a listing that is a bad example of how to use keywords. Now first, really quick, let's go through where the keywords are going to be found. So when the listing is live, we see here that this area is the brand name. This area right here is where you're going to have your title, and then we scroll down here and we see the bullet section. Now there are already some bullets here that are pre-filled by merch. We have 2 spaces in which to fill our own. This section here and this section here. So looking at this shirt, it is about a polar bear. I'm really a polar bear in a human costume. And let's go over to the bullets here and see what they have done. So they have done what is called list format keywording. Instead of writing their keywords in a coherent, readable sentence that would make sense to a customer who wants to find out more information about that shirt, they have done what is considered keyword stuffing. They're putting a whole bunch of words in there that they don't need to, and it doesn't really make sense, and it really looks spammy. Spammy is not something that merch likes at all, and ultimately it doesn't actually really help you at all either. So if you're thinking about trying to stuff the bullet section with men, women, adults, boys, all of the sizes, small, medium, large, all of the colors, all of the target audiences, please don't do that. It may seem like a good idea, but if we go over to the terms of service section, which let's see which tab I have that open in. I might not have it here. I might not have it open, but this is something that is a no-no. Okay, I found the right tab. So where I'm at in the back end, if you go under resources and then look over to the side here under content policy, scroll down to number 3 here under design and descriptions, you can see some very specific instructions from merch on what to do and what not to do. This is really, really important for every mercher to remind themselves of, to read, and to see if there are any updates, which sometimes get posted and sometimes do not. So it's important to keep yourself updated. Now, a couple of the ones to be aware of that we discussed earlier are having to do with inaccurate product descriptions. So they should match the design, and then here it specifies what constitutes keyword stuffing, which means inaccurately describing your product as glow-in-the-dark, sparkling, maternity wear, using keywords that don't relate to the design, stuffing them in there, making it look spammy. Don't do that. Make sure that it is something that a customer would be happy with. Ultimately, that's what Amazon wants. They're very customer-centric, and therefore they want the content creators to also be customer-centric. The other thing that we should be looking at here is mismatched spelling. It should match the title. If your design says a certain thing, it should match what we put into the listing. And obviously some no-nos are putting any kind of solicitations in for reviews or external contact information. So please go through and read all this information for yourself. Make sure you are very aware of it, and then we can move on. Okay, so now after showing kind of a bad example of how to use keywords, making sure that we don't stuff, we are going to look at a shirt that does a decent job with their keywords, and showing you this one because the Eclipse event already happened, so that should be fine here. Now, going back to all the different areas where you can have your t-shirts, the 3 areas that actually get pulled from for results and indexed within Amazon are the brand, the title and the bullets. The description down here, when you're on a PC, we scroll all the way down and they actually didn't include one. But if they did, it would have been right here. This actually does not get indexed by Amazon for keywords. However, it's important to still include it because it does get indexed by Google, and when you are on a mobile device, it shows up usually in a prominent place, and it can be a call to action. So don't neglect that field. Here we have a shirt that is about a specific event, and so the brand can be done one of a few different ways. Many people will have what's called an umbrella brand, where they have trademarked it, it's registered, it's their own, and they are building up their brand, which can be a very good way to go. You're building up your reputation, you pick a unique brand name, and that is the umbrella under which you put all your t-shirts. The other way to go is using more of a keyword brand, where you put keywords that will help you get indexed within Amazon within your brand as well. And that can be a strategic way to use the keywords. The most important place where you can use your keywords that will give you the most oomph in the search results will be your title. Now, this particular one is pretty straight and to the point. It describes exactly what the t-shirt is and what it's for. It is a beautiful solar eclipse 2017 graphic t-shirt. The other place that's important, where you have more space in which to describe your shirt and use some good keywords, where you can make use of strategies like synonyms, alternative words that mean the same thing, words that are applicable to the niche that you are in, is your bullets. And this is where we'll probably focus a little bit more time on. So this particular one, if we see some of the words that they've used, they are describing what the event is. It's the solar eclipse. They've used the time, which is important because it happened in 2017. They use the word America because that's the location. And if you think about all of these words that they have weaved into their sentences here, it is something that makes sense to a customer, which is important, but also they've included a lot of words that may, in some form or fashion, get put together in a search string that a customer might look for. So they've included words like moon, sun, overlaid, astronomers, totality, the United States of America. Any combination of these words that get typed into the search box on Amazon makes this shirt more likely to come up. And that is the way that the search algorithm works on Amazon. Any combination of words that you have in your listing in the areas that get pulled from, if they get typed in combination, even if they aren't right next to each other, they will help your shirt get seen. So this is a good example of a shirt that makes good use of the bullets and the other listing details without getting too spammy and without doing the keyword stuffing in list format, and had really, really amazing sales during the event as well. All right. Okay, so we are back onto the account page that I have, and I have put a design of my own. I've uploaded it and it's on the Create page. We are at the product details section. So this is a design that was going to go up for St. Patrick's Day. It never made it up, so we're going to use it as an example. So as you can see, the design says I'm going to need another beer to wash down this beer. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through the process of keywording now that we have our design. So the first thing that I usually like to do is brainstorm depending on whatever niche I am in. So the thing that I like about holidays and events is that you can combine two niches together and therefore get that much more chance of being sold, because you can combine lots of keywords together. Now this particular shirt obviously is about beer, alcohol, and the other niche that it could fall under is St. Patrick's Day. So what we are going to do now is head over to Merch Informer, and I will show you a few methods of finding keywords that we are going to be using in our listing. Okay, I decided to break this video down into two parts. For part two, we're going to focus on going through an actual listing with the design that I've uploaded here on this page. we're going to focus on filling out the product details section, and we are going to do a little bit of keyword research, help you guys with some tips and tricks on how to brainstorm and find the right keywords that will help you get more sales. So if we go to Merch Hunter within the Merch Informer software by Neil, it's an essential piece of software that I use for all of my research needs, for everything that I need on Merch by Amazon. Here we have the Merch Hunter module here, and what I did was put in the keywords of beer, since that is the main niche that my design focuses on. And I searched by the top 1,000 bestsellers, 100,000 and above. So if we scroll down to the results, we see all of the products that are selling well that have the word beer somewhere in the listing. Now, the great thing about Merch Informer is you get to do a lot of it's idea creation, basically. So looking at other people's listings that are selling, you don't ever want to copy their listings, but you can get some great ideas from what they have already put down. So the features section here in this very first shirt that pops up, if I was going to be brainstorming ideas for St. Patrick's Day, I would be looking here and seeing, okay, Irish drinking shirt, that would be a great thing to put in mine. This one is about the liver, and if we scroll down here, we get some other ideas like this one. This shirt here says I PA a lot when I drink. Funny, witty, and it gives me idea because there lies the type of beer. So when we're thinking about keywords, doing research, there's a few different things that we need to think about. So since my shirt is about beer, one road that I can go down is, okay, what are the types of beer that there are that I could maybe include in my listings? Because maybe somebody would be typing in beer, but maybe they would want to be more specific and they would be typing in a type of beer. So here we go over to Google. All you have to do is type in types of beer, and here we go. We have beer styles just laid out for us right here on this first page. Ale, I don't know much about beer, but I think it's pronounced lager, stout, pilsner. Here's the IPA, porter, wheat beer. So any of these would be good to include in our listing. List them out, put them, weave them into readable sentences so that it makes sense to the customer. So let's go back here, looking at all of these listings and seeing if we can get any ideas. Some of these are not as relevant as others because they have it in there, but it's not necessarily about beer, so we just scroll by. Here's some good phrases that you can maybe weave into your listing. This one says, beer me, it's my birthday. That's something that probably people are looking up, beer me, so that is something that you can consider. And again, remember that it's really important to keep everything relevant. So if your design is specific, it has a specific phrase, or the phrase would relate to your design, then go ahead and use it. If not, make sure that you can stay away from that. The other thing that we need to be thinking about as far as keywords go is, what is the occasion? So going back to my design here, the occasion for drinking a beer, brainstorm on that one. Probably wouldn't take you very long to think about a scenario where you would be drinking beer. So what comes to my mind immediately, obviously St. Patrick's Day, that's a big event where everybody is drinking. But on an everyday regular basis, this shirt doesn't necessarily have to only be a St. Patrick's Day shirt. It could be something that could be sold all year round because people drink beer all year round. So another situation where people would be drinking, I would be thinking of words like pub, bar, party, maybe watching a game, a baseball game or a football game. All of those types of scenarios would be good to think about and maybe weave into your sentence when you're doing your keywords. The third thing that we're going to be thinking about here would be the target audience. So, beer drinkers. What do you think of when you think of someone who drinks beer? What is an adjective that you could use to describe that person? I might be thinking of a sentence such as, if you love alcohol, getting buzzed or drunk on craft beer, or brewing your own. So in that sentence, which I just kind of whipped up real quick, and I would probably edit to make it sound a little bit more fluid, but I'm including people who love alcohol, that maybe are brewing their own craft beer. Just think about your target audience and what they're likely to be doing, what kind of person they are, and that's a whole nother genre of keywords that you can include. Now, let's go back to Amazon, the main page, for a second and talk about adjectives. Okay, here we are on Amazon again. We're going to be checking out beer shirts this time, rather than cat shirts that we did in the beginning, and we're going to talk a little bit more about adjectives. So let's do the same thing we did in the beginning, where we just type in beer shirt and see what happens. So tons and tons of results, over 10,000, way too many, we would get buried at the bottom. So let's do a little bit of narrowing down. Now, the shirt that I have here, let's think of an adjective that would work, that would help us narrow it down. So this is kind of a sort of a one-liner. We could put one-liner, we could put funny, we could put witty, we could put sarcastic. So let's think about what would be good to put down here. One-liner, beer shirt. Now here we go, 84 results. So that narrows it down quite a bit and would put me either on the front or the top or the second page. Let's look at this again. This to me kind of also seems like it could be a dad joke. So let's do that and say dad joke beer shirt and see what we get. Again, it narrows it down quite a bit. And if you look at the other results that pop up, you will see that the shirt phrase that I have pretty much coincides with the type of one-liner, silly, cheesy dad jokes that pop up on this page also. So it would be relevant and I would feel comfortable using it. It also gives you some good ideas for maybe other phrases to use if they were relevant. So the other thing about adjectives is, or related terms or things that would be relevant to put in front of the basic idea of your shirt, is describing the actual style of the shirt. So what I mean by that is, if your designer has made your shirt have some little distressing on it, people might be looking for that style of shirt and might put it in there. So let's put in distressed funny beer shirt and see what happens. Now 624, that's more, so we could be using more words to narrow it down than just these 4. But distressed does narrow it down. It makes it more likely that if somebody's looking specifically for a distressed shirt and you have distressed in there, if yours pops up and it is distressed, then more likely to get that sale. Now I see some of these here that have apparently used the word distressed, but to me, from this angle, it does not look like they are distressed. So make sure that if you use the words, that your design actually is distressed. Now some other ones, as far as style goes, could be vintage, and that's something that's pretty popular and it kind of goes right along with distressed. Another word for distressed is grunge. So, you know, brainstorm some of those words and make sure that you use them in combination with some of the other ones. You know, one that might not work as well for a beer shirt would be cute, although maybe I could be wrong. It could be something that would be cute if it was more oriented towards females. And if somebody's looking for a cute beer shirt and there aren't as many out there, then you could be in luck. So thinking outside of the box in that way is also good. So for a second, let's talk about synonyms. Okay, here we are back in Merch Informer, and right now I am under Listing Optimizer and then Synonym Suggest. And this is a cool little tool that helps quickly find some synonyms if you are wanting to find alternate words that would mean the same thing to use in your listing. So let's say I have a shirt that has a fox on it, and one of the first words that I think of when I'm trying to describe a fox in my mind would be sly. Sly fox is kind of a common phrase. A lot of people are going to use that, so let's see if we can find some synonyms that I could use, not necessarily instead, but in addition to sly. All you do is you type in the keyword, and down here we get our results. So here we have a great list of other words that basically mean the same thing that we could use. Crafty, cunning, dodgy, foxy, guileful. Lots of these, different ones that, the general public would know. And you can kind of use your good judgment as far as which ones you think would be most popular to put in your listing. You don't want, again, to do the list format keyword stuffing where you just put a whole bunch of things in there in list format without making it make sense or weaving it coherently into your sentence. But there are some good ones in here that I think would show up on search results that somebody would type in. Okay, and here we are on thesaurus.com. This is another very simple, easy way to just get synonyms by going straight here and typing in the main word that you might use and then looking at other alternative words. Attractive. There are a ton of different ways to say this, and depending on which ones you think would be most popular or which ones would associate most closely with whatever shirt design you have, you can use. I would pick probably some of the top ones that are most commonly used in everyday language. So alluring, maybe I would use that if I didn't have other good alternatives, but I personally don't use that word very often in regular conversation. So I might go with something more mainstream like beautiful, charming, handsome, gorgeous, something like that. And again, you don't want to use too many because you don't need to stuff the entire thing full, but using the best and the top alternatives is a good idea. Okay, now going back to my listing, we are going to wrap this up by actually filling in the listing details for my shirt. So let's start with the brand name. Since I'm not going with a main brand or an umbrella brand here, obviously we will just use a few keywords. So I will keep it somewhat short, and let's go with beer joke shirts, because that's something that somebody could type in and it can help me. Every little bit helps. Alright, now we're going to fill in the title of the product. Now in this case, since the design itself has a phrase that is long enough to fill almost the entire space, I am just going to put that in because it's the most relevant detail. I'm gonna need another beer to wash down this beer. And then at the end, I will probably only have enough room to put in t-shirt. Yep. And that is that. So now the actual details, adjectives, synonyms, and keyword weaving is mostly going to happen down here. I'm going to keep the price the same since it's just a standard t-shirt. Now, this is where we're going to implement all of the things that we talked about previously. Alright, now moving right along to the bullets, I am going to start out by describing the style of the shirt. I'm going to put this distressed beer tee, and I'm using tee because it's a different form of t-shirt and all the different types don't always get indexed the same, so I'm going to use a few different versions just to make sure I cover all my bases. Is perfect for anyone who loves. Now I'm going to list a few of the different types of beer that I think are pretty popular. Not too many though. Let's go with stout, wheat, and let's go with craft. When they are at, let's see, we talked about being at a pub or a bar. Let's say bar hopping on the weekend. Okay, now I'm going to fill out the second bullet the same way and the description, and I will see you on the next page where we will see the whole thing put together. Alright, so here we are on the review the product detail page right before we are going to press submit or save it to draft. Now we can go over each section real quick and see how we did. So for the brand, we went ahead and went with the keyword brand. We kept it pretty short and sweet, but it also is something that somebody would likely type into the search box at Amazon, so that's going to help us out here, beer joke shirts. I think that when you use too many words and make it too keyword heavy, it ends up looking spammy and not like a real brand, so you want to be careful of that. Sometimes that can make Amazon customers not trust the third party who is selling the shirt. The title is pretty much exactly what is on the design here, and then with t-shirt on the end. And here in our bullets we have the following. This distressed dad joke beer tee is perfect for anyone who loves IPA, stout, wheat, or craft beer when they are at a pub or bar hopping on the weekend. Now you see all of the different types of keywords that had to do with adjectives, that had to do with the type of people who enjoy beer, that had to do with the location where they're enjoying the beer. And the second bullet says funny and sarcastic. Notice that we are using two different forms of different ways to say humor. St. Patrick's Day drinking shirt. If you're a fan of getting buzzed or drunk on alcohol and commonly end up with a hangover, then get this cheesy one-liner shirt. So we ended up putting a whole bunch of different keywords in there that somebody could type in a combination to look for a shirt such as ours. It is relevant, but we also weaved it into a coherent sentence in both of those spots. And then the product description was basically a copy and paste just for this example, and it was a call to action. So that pretty much brings us to the end of our video. I hope that this gave you guys some pretty easy, simple ideas and helped you kind of break down the process of figuring out what keywords to use in your listings, how they can relate to your niche, using adjectives, synonyms, related terms to help you get your customer eyeballs on your shirt, better chance of that at least, and helping you kind of go through the process in your own mind so you can repeat it again and again for each one of your shirts. The one last thing that I always want to mention is before you submit your design to go live, you always want to make sure that you comb over every single word and phrase in your listing for trademarks. Some even individual words can be trademarked and you would never think they were, so it's really important to do your due diligence there and search the USPTO website for everything that you might use either on your design or in your listing anywhere to make sure that there are no problems there. That is it for me. I was happy to do this video and hope you enjoy the rest of the Merch Dojo course.